All right, welcome back to the Seven Figure Annuity Sales Podcast. Caleb North here with Chad. And man, it's good to have you back. Last week I did one, and I'm sure I say it every time you're on. I'm sure our listeners are glad to have somebody other than me here.
Oh, that's just how it is.
Oh, man.
I'm the poster child
Yeah.
for what not to be.
Yeah. You're the poster child for chew up the meat and spit out the bones.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you have to chew up the bone too. There's a lot of marrow in that. There's actually that's actually interesting. You know, some of the most nutritious thing is beyond what is heavily protected.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to get deep into that bone. You have to break that bone open to get that marrow. And sometimes, you know, we start gnawing on it. We're like, I'm tired. I broke a tooth. I'm going to give up. And, you know, I mean, there's smarter ways to do that, right? I mean, you just simply put the bone in hot water and you get all the marrow out of it that way. And so, you know, sometimes we just got to chew a little harder to get into what we need, the most nutritious stuff.
Yeah, that's
true. There's your beginning analogy.
I like it. Is that indicative of how your week went this past week?
Oh, dude, you have no idea. So basically, I called this guy. It's a Zoom, and he was just, no, I don't want to do that. He didn't show up on the Zoom. He's already no-showed me 3 times on the Zoom. This was possibly going to be a 4th. This last time. Before this one, he was actually on the Zoom with his wife, which I was just blown away. Of course, I had to call, and he's 10 minutes later. And the thing that's crazy about it is he's such a nice guy. Him and his wife are such nice people. I think they just don't really keep track of time or appointments. And so he starts off with, so do you have any questions? He goes, yeah, you know, I was kind of really turned off by you recommending to put all my money into this. And I said, I didn't tell you to put all your money. We left your wife's IRA alone and we left your savings alone. And I said, oh, that's true. And I said, besides, he's talking about, well, I was thinking of doing 20% into stocks, 20% into money market, and 20% into an annuity. And I said, okay, but you are familiar. He's a police officer. I said, you are familiar with pensions, right? And he doesn't get one, unfortunately. But I said, you're familiar with pensions, right? And he's like, yeah. I said, what's a pension? He said, well, the company puts away money aside so they can afford to pay you when you go to retire. But now they don't have that. So what did you do? You went and put away $600,000 in your 401k, and that is supposed to be used for what? Your pension. Yep. And if you don't do that, I said, you could do a money market now. What was the money market when you started getting? He goes, 5.5%. So what is it now? And he goes, 3.7. I said, so what guarantees does that get that? Right there. What does it get you? Long story short, after about 25 minutes later, then he wants to get his wife on. His wife's getting on. I said, here, let me just ask you this, David. I said, do you want your wife, if you die at 75 or 80, do you want your wife trying to figure out how she's going to get income for the rest of her life? Or do you want to make sure she's super secure right now? And his wife just, yes, we want this. So long story short, $600,000 deal, virtual, second appointment. So, you know, of course I had to send him the application, which, you know, you do at Firelight. It gets emailed to him anyway. And he's looking it over, and then we're going to move the money from his 401k on Monday. So I had to chew hard on that one.
Yeah.
And I couldn't give up. I couldn't take the objection of, you know, I don't like annuities. It gave me a bad taste in my mouth. It was actually what he said, when you went after all my money. I said, I didn't go after all your money. I said, and if you really want to look at it, how much money do you want to have protected? Do you want to take less now and wish you would have taken more now and enjoyed it while you're retired? And so it is interesting. But then I got another guy, 6th appointment. He this morning said, you know, we decided we don't want an annuity. Once again, virtual. But I'm just going, he had 150,000. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get how some people think they can pull that slot machine arm one more time and they're going to win. And that's not good. Not good.
there's a couple things that stand out to me in your $600,000 example, and a couple of things that you did that I think a lot of agents would have done differently and ultimately cost the majority of agents
Mm-hmm.
in the same situation that you were able to close a $600,000 sale.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I think it is. Number one, he comes back and he says, yeah, it really kind of put me off that you tried to use all my money.
Mm-hmm.
Most agents would probably not say, I didn't try to use all your money. We left your wife's IRA out and your savings out and everything. Most would probably come back kind of tail tucked a little bit and say, okay, well, what would you feel comfortable with?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. And then he would probably continue his statement. Well, I was thinking 20% in stocks, 20% into money markets, and 20% into an annuity. And a lot of agents would say, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
And then they would go sell a $150,000 annuity or $200,000 annuity, whatever it equates to. And you pushing back against his incorrect claim about how you were presenting, and you making a case and standing by your guns, if you will, standing by what you recommended to him for not only his sake, but also for his wife's, to the point that he can recognize, oh, this is really what we need. See, if an agent were to respond to him the way that I described most agents would, okay, so what do you feel comfortable with? Okay, let's use 20%. That smells and reeks of I just want a deal.
100%.
But you actually pushing back indicates I'm not after anything in particular, and you're advocating for what you believe is best for them, and you're explaining to them why you believe that's best for them, is what positions you to end up with the deal that isn't 20% of assets, it's $600,000.
Well, look at it this way. You know, if you have a guy hanging over the edge of a cliff and you're holding on to him and you just go, you know what? I'm just going to pull you up 20% of the way. Or in this split.
You can climb the rest of the 80 or so.
You can try and climb the rest. Oh, by the way, what was this I just used? Oh, this one too. Oh my gosh, this was a good one. So anyway, and by the way, you know, you're going to have a lot of little pitfalls let's just say 33% of the way, because he went and split into 3 buckets.
Yeah.
In that 67% of the way, you're going to have some horrific obstacles to overcome. And he said, I just don't believe there's anything safe. And I said, okay, you're a police officer, right? And he said, yes. And I said, you have 2 buildings you're going to go into. One building has a shotgun. The guy has a shotgun. Another guy has a flash grenade. Another guy has an automatic rifle. Another guy has a pistol. Another guy has a bomb. And so that's one building. The other building is a bunch of little babies. Which building is safe? And he said, well, that's an easy answer, the one with the babies. And I said, so what I'm trying to tell you is I'm putting you in a completely safe room with the annuity, or you can go into the other building where the broker has the shotgun, the broker has the grenade, the mutual fund guy has the flash grenade, you know, so it basically stuns you. You don't know what you're doing, and they're all fear-based. And then and I just kept listing the stock, the mutual fund, the bond, the broker. Those are all weapons that can be used against your retirement, where I'm literally putting you in the safest thing that's possible. And he goes, that's really good. And so that was when he started to shift in his belief system that there are such things as safety.
And it's rooted in analogies that are understandable by your client. And I mean, this is something that you've been doing for years now, where you know what a client did in their career. And because of that, you're able to create examples and analogies that they can resonate with. Doctor analogies, pilot analogies, rancher analogies. I mean, I've heard a whole string of them. And they're always related to what they know and what they understand. And you're taking the concepts of what you're presenting it and you're putting it into those terms. And that allows them to get their mind around the realities of the way things work. And it also makes them feel, I think, heard and understood. It's like, I guess it's, if somebody's speaking to me in the language that I understand and not getting frustrated over the fact that I don't understand their jargon, I feel like I've been heard. I feel like I've been understood, and I can it builds trust.
Well, I use
There's
that.
a
I
lot of
used the
advantage to that.
example too. I said, as a police officer, do you want the brand new rookie that's with you to get your back? Or do you want the seasoned, trained, former Marine ops, knows all the different weapons, all different hand-to-hand combat skills? Who do you want going with you into the building? Someone who's heavily trained or someone who's brand new? And he goes, obviously, heavily trained. I said, fine, just Google my name, and you'll see the first 8 pages are dominated with my name in there. I am an expert in this industry. Now let's Google the guy that you're trying to use right now. Wait, only one website comes up for him, and it's owned by an owner. He's not even the owner of it. So he basically has to do whatever they tell him to do. I used a lot of analogies with him, but you know what? If Jesus uses parables, there's a reason why.
Stories work.
It is. Jesus used parables that were relatable to the people he was talking to.
Oh, yeah.
And I adopted that.
Yeah. I find it interesting that you referenced your expertise. I was thinking about your career earlier when I knew we were going to record this today. And I realized, you know what? Chad's done over $300 million in annuity premium in his career.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about that number in relation to a good career. And I realized if you had 3 different agents, each have a 30-year career, those 3 agents averaging $3.5 million each per year for a 30-year career each equates to the amount of volume that you've done in your career. And so one thing that I was thinking about you could have in your back pocket is literally based on the number of clients you've helped, the number of the amount of assets that you've protected, you have effectively a 90-year career under your belt.
That just made me feel really old.
Well, you've done a lot in, what is it, 22 years, 23 years?
20, not quite 22 yet. And technically, I mean, you can't really count the first 3 years because I was really trying to get my feet wet in the annuity arena. It took me a little bit to grasp the concept of how great these were and how they worked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's funny, as we just, you and I were just talking about this before. We just built this big, beautiful house. It's on the lake. The mountain's right behind it. I get to watch the sunset every day, as long as there's no clouds. But Colorado has like 290 some days of sun. So when I look at that scenario, I go, there's so many people that have texted me, emailed me, I really want your house. I want your lifestyle. What they don't know is what it took to get there. Almost losing a daughter to a brain aneurysm. Fortunately, she fully recovered. All of our kids have had near-death experiences medically or extremely inconvenient for a year and a half. Zach with his thing, and then of course building the house and having someone mismanage millions of dollars and 3 nervous breakdowns I went through, multiple panic attacks. Like Leilani last night, we had to go to the ER and she had a procedure done through the day. It didn't work, didn't hold, so she had to go and get operated on last night. We were there till 4:00 in the morning. Finally got to sleep about 4:30, 5 o'clock. And what am I doing? I'm on this call right now. I already had to run, get her medicine. I didn't get to sleep in. I had things I had to do in the morning. I had my quiet time with God. And, I'm not bragging by any means. You've seen the pain and the suffering that I've had to go through to get to where I am, and I could have done it without God. There's no way. But, people need to realize this is not an easy walk. I have someone right now who's like, I want to get in the business. I said, this is one to do good in this business. This is one of the toughest businesses you'll ever run into because you're constantly going no matter what's against you. You get hit in the shoulder with an arrow, boom, who cares? Keep going. You get hit in the knee, by a rock, keep going. You're crawling when you don't feel like even moving. And it sounds very dramatic, but it's not. Anybody who's been close by me has seen that.
Yep.
You can't let anything stop you from what you're driven and called to do. Yeah. And I think about Jesus carrying the cross. He was already whipped, beaten, totally beyond human recognition. They said he didn't even look like a man. And it was the love for us that kept him going. Now you could say, Simon carried the cross part of the way and another guy named Simon, but I don't care. I wouldn't even be walking, man. You hit me with that a few times with that whip and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Just, you know what? I would have grabbed one of the swords and I just would have ran it through me. I'm not doing this, but you have to be willing. There's a grit that you have to have in every agent I've ever seen that does over 20 million a year. They're unstoppable. They all have crazy testimonies of multiple things that have tried to knock them down. And it's the love I have for people. A most perfect example for this right now is look how many years I've had to put up with you. And I keep going.
It's your penance.
It's my penance. I've kept just going, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's still here. But now look what happens. I have a company that literally runs itself because of you, Josh, Jesse, our downline team that just support the Marissa, the Karen, the John, the Jesse's whole team. We have a machine that's working. And that's why when Josh came to me and said, hey, I know you're the CEO, but I think you need to step down. And I'm like, okay, what do you got on your mind? Because I know everybody on this team is always looking out for my best interest because I look out for your best interest. And he said, I think you just need to be chair and founder and I'll be the CEO because I run day-to-day operations. That was not, and I've heard multiple people, well, that's really humble. No, that's common sense. If you got something that can run just as good or better without you than it does with you, then it's my turn to go and continue to build relationships outside of this that we can build our network even bigger and get us stronger, which I've been doing for about a year now. But I'm just super picky on who I allow to join our team or be part of our organization because I love the people I work with. And I'm obligated to make sure we do the right thing.
Absolutely, man. And I've seen what you're describing. And the other thing that I've seen that I'll add that I think can be as challenging for agents as the actual adversity, because you've faced your fair share of adversity and you've chosen to keep pushing through it. Mm-hmm. But you know what else you've chosen to keep working through?
My fair share? More than my fair share. I don't know. What are you talking about fair share? I'm like going...
more than your fair share.
What is Chad Job? What's my name here? Quick story, real quick, because I want you to finish that. But I find it funny with the story of Job, how all of his children died, all of his livestock died. Everything got destroyed, but God left Job's wife there. How bad was she that he didn't destroy her and knowing that she would be the bigger neck?
And she turned into it for sure.
Oh, yeah, just curse your God and die. So anyway, funny story.
No, I was just going to say, obviously the adversity has been there and you've pushed through the adversity, and that's something that agents have to do. Like you've got to be able to do that. But the other thing that I've noticed about you, Chad, is you keep going even when things have been good. And I think that can be as demotivating as the adversity. If you think about it, you mentioned anybody that you've ever seen that's written over 20 million a year. Well, that's a lot of business. But you know what happens before 20 million a year? 10 million a year. which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty good production, 15 million a year, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty good production. You could do 10 million halfway through the year, be retired for 6 months, do it again the next year.
Yep.
But you don't. It's like even when the things are good, you keep pushing forward, you keep advancing, and I think that's one thing that distinguishes you, and why
Mm-hmm.
when we look at the numbers, we can see, okay, Chad's had about the equivalent of 30-year careers in
Mm-hmm.
the industry. And just based on the number of people you've met with, the conversations you've had, the production you've written, because at the end of the day, it's not just the fact that you have a particularly large average case size. That contributes to the production, but it's also the volume of people that you're meeting with. When you
Mm-hmm.
look at the number of people that you meet with, the number of people that you've talked to, it really is multiple careers worth
Mm-hmm.
of uh, exposure, experience that you've created. And with that, to wrap us up, I want to know, out of that time, if there is one thing that you've learned specifically about client behavior that you would find valuable to share to agents, or that you wish you could have picked up on sooner, anything like that. It doesn't have to try and be some, the number one thing. I'm just curious, something about consumer behavior, client behavior that you've been able to observe through the years that you would share. What would that be?
I would say it comes down to a common need that everybody wants, even if they don't realize it. Everybody wants to be led by someone that loves them. And that's really what it comes down to. There's a lot of hurt people out there that have had to rely on themselves. They've been burned by people. They've been burned by financial people. And I think when you take true leadership without apology, and you just, hey, I know I'm right in this scenario, but I care for you enough to not let you make this wrong decision. It's still yours. It affects your retirement way more than it affects mine. But I care for you enough to at least present the best option that's out there. I mean, if you think about it, even the hardest people in the world can be turned around if someone tries to lead them out of love. But a lot of people already have their defense up, and you've got to get through it. The difference is we have to get through it in a matter of 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour for 2 or 3 appointments. That's how fast we got to get through it. So
Yep.
that would be I would say that'd be the number one thing, is not being afraid to say what's right for them. But you got to know your product. You got to do the right fact finding. You got to, and just know that you love them and you want what's best for them.
Is
and
it
I know
fair
it keeps going back to that. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I got so broken down the past 6 months. I'm really realizing the only thing that matters is good, healthy relationships. That's what it comes down to.
It's really good, man.
Genuine care and concern.
I mean, I agree. And I'll say leadership is one of the 2 skills that is not inherently annuity related or industry related that I recommend agents develop: leadership and their ability to educate, their teaching skills.
Yeah.
If you can become a better leader and a better educator, you'll become a better agent.
Absolutely.
And a huge part of that is having a genuine heart of care for the person that you're sitting across, because when you combine leadership with genuine care, you're really somebody that people can get behind. And I'm curious, Chad, would it be fair to say that you would rather lose a sale advocating for what you truly believe is best for the client than to gain a sale caving to what they say they think they want?
It's not even a thought. It's so easy to make that decision. Like, no, I'm not going to do something for you that I know is wrong. I don't care what the commission is. There's no way. I will walk away from that deal so fast, but I will also fight for what's right. And I'm not afraid to call someone out if they're thinking the wrong way about, this lady 2 weeks ago that I met with. She's telling me how her son is draining her right now because she has to pay $2,000 a month for his expenses, and he lives with her, and he had a job at Charles Schwab and he couldn't make it. And I said, okay. So I explained how the annuity works, and it goes, okay, this is great, but I need to get my son's opinion on it. And I literally said, the son that you pay $2,000 a month that got let go from a financial institution. You want to get his opinion? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
I mean, I literally said it like that. Okay. And
in my head, I'm like, it's snarky, and you wouldn't say this, but it's like, maybe that's why we're working with 300,000 here instead of 3 million. It's like the same mindset that wants to consult the advice of somebody that doesn't know what they're doing is the mindset that keeps people.
Well, you realize your son is costing you $24,000 a year. So in 4 years, he's cost you $100,000. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I mean, I have empathy for that, but I don't have understanding. Yeah. So, okay. Well, we're good. Hey, boy, we went over a little bit today, didn't we?
We did, man, but there was some gold in there. There's really, really good stuff in there for these agents to get out of it. So thank you. That was great.
And just so you know, I'm not the type of gold that will crash 30% in one day. So we'll leave that for another topic.
Okay. Awesome, man.
Have a good day, my friend.